So here I weighed about 10 grams of abaca, and I'm gonna leave it in water overnight, and that allows the fibers to swell and then process. So here's the abaca in a lot of water. I have about here 5 cups of water altogether, and the 10 grams of abaca. Looks like it's quite lumpy. The tea particulates from the water and make them attracted to the pulp itself, so they stick to the pulp permanently. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to use retention aid. It's a retention agent that I get from the carriage house, and it's a cationic substance that ends up pulling all the tea, which are tea particulates, to the pulp itself, and you end up with clear liquid at the end that doesn't stain your paper when you try to do the leaf casting. All right, so we're gonna add it. We're gonna add about 2 cupfuls of the retention agent, let it sit for at least an hour, evaluate it, and then proceed from that. Okay, so we're gonna add about 2 teaspoons of retention agent. Here's 1. Stir, and here's another, and that's done. See how the water is nice and clear. So all the dye now is in the pulp itself, and the pulp is lumpy at this point. But what we're going to do, we're going to size it, and we're going to use formation aids on it, and it's going to smooth out nicely, and you'll be able to use it for leaf casting. This is called formation aid. It's polyethylene oxide. And I'm going to be stirring it for a little bit more until it's really nice and viscous, and then create this mucilage that is added to the pulp and makes the fibers not stick together, so they end up loose and nice and long and separate. So when you pour the pulp, it's going to give you this nice even sheet at the end. It's getting there. All right, so this is the consistency of the pulp right now, right? So when I pipette it, it's not too bad. I have a lot of water, but you can see sometimes you get these filaments in there that can clog the, sorry, I wasn't showing you exactly, but it can clog the, you see how the pulp stays inside? So that's difficult, right? So one way to work around it is you can filter this and collect the filtrate through a spaghetti filter, right? Large hole spaghetti filter. And you get rid of the large lumps and you have the smaller lumps, but those over time eventually end up lumping together again. So the fibers of the abaca tend to cling together, and it's really difficult to separate. So one way I found out you could deal with it is what they do in the paper industry is they use a solution called formation aid, which is polyethylene oxide. So you can see I made some, and you can see how viscous it is. It makes this mucilage that they add to the pulp, and the pulp eventually, the fibers of the pulp become slippery from each other, and what you end up with is nice smooth pulp that you can apply to spots that need to be filled, right? So what I'm going to do is do a comparison between the pulp without the formation aid and the pulp with the formation aid. So I'm going to do this side without the formation aid and this side with the formation aid. So let's do first without the formation aid. I'm going to go ahead and add, so let me get some sponges first, excuse me for a second. Okay, so I have this side and this side surrounded by sponges, and I'm going to go ahead and do this side first. Now, as far as the amount of pulp I'm adding, it's really, you can see like it's uneven, right? So there's some pulp here, some little finer pulp that is coming in. Look at this amount of pulp here, right? So it's very uneven. And that can give you lumpy finish to your fill. So I'm going to try to do it justly here. Fill it with enough pulp, and then we're going to roll it afterwards and press it overnight, right? So right now this is done. So next step, I'm going to go ahead and add the formation aid to the pulp. And this is, I'm going to add the whole thing. It's been added. And then I'm going to stir it. And immediately the fibers will be coated and you get this mucilage kind of effect to the fibers, but they slide away from each other. It gives you a smoother finish, less lumpy finish, because the fibers are not as stuck together as before. So they use it in the paper industry as a process aid, and so you usually add the formation aid at the very end, right? All right, so we're going to go ahead now and add the pulp. You see how much smoother it is after using formation aid? Like as if the fibers just sort of went into solution, as if like you have a homogeneous solution now. Before you had this lumpy solution. Not anymore. Look at that. See the difference? You see how smooth it goes on? Look at that. Of course, I calculated about 5 mils for each one of these holes for pulp. You see how this went on versus this? I'll take the sponges in a second, take them off so you can see it better. But you get this like solution effect that you don't see here. This is very lumpy, not this, right? So check this out, right? See the difference? Just a tiny little bit of formation aid made a world of a difference. And it's the same amount here and here, except this is lumpy, this isn't. This is more smooth. It's going to give you an even sheet. This is going to give you a lumpy sheet, lumpy finish at the end. So yeah, so I'm gonna, next what I'm gonna do off camera is roll this with a rolling pin and then press it overnight, and we'll look at the results tomorrow. It's not going to be perfect for this, but you get the idea, right? All right, guys, stay tuned.